Good morning, everyone. We have a few more minutes until we get started, but thanks for being here. This session is Loathing It or Loving It, talking about reading solutions for individuals with print disabilities. We are going to get started on time, and we'll start just in a few minutes. Thanks so much.
Hey, Vanessa, you good?
Yeah, we're all set. Thanks, Mike.
Fantastic. That's the right answer. How are you today?
I am just fine. How are you?
Good. I am fine also. But it is only session one, so, there's a lot of room.
There's plenty of time for it to unravel. So
There's plenty of room for it to go sideways for the day. So I'm going to take this little win and I'm going to turn my mic off. I'll be floating around if you need me.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is 9 o'clock, and I really like to start things on time because everyone's time is valuable, and there is a packed day ahead of us. I'm so excited for today. My name is Vanessa Lombardo. I am in New Jersey, so this is my local ATAC, and I am an AT specialist, and I really am just passionate about assistive technology, blending technology with solutions for people, really all kinds of different people, certainly in particular people with disabilities, but really being able to share, you know, a little bit about some reading solutions for individuals with print disabilities on behalf of Bookshare. And so I just wanted to just briefly, just a couple of quick housekeeping things in case you were not in the welcome that was a little earlier this morning. First of all these sessions are being recorded. We are recording as we speak, so they will be available later. And as was shared by Mike and Naomi, who are heading this up today, we really want to share these resources. So please feel free to share information from what you take today, not only obviously of this session, but of course of any of the sessions that you attend. Also, there is a Google Doc on the calendar, or schedule, I should say, schedule of the day. There's a place to take notes. And so I have added a few resources in there, but also there's opportunity for crowdsourced notes, which I have always found to be pretty helpful. So if you feel like you would like to jot down some notes, that would be a wonderful thing. As was said this morning too, just please don't delete anything that someone else wrote in there. Just please add to it, so we can all, you know, be able to have as much information as possible. All right, so our quick agenda here, we are going to do just a brief overview of Bookshare. Then I want to get into the signing up, right? The different ways that people can access and have membership to Bookshare. We're going to do a fair amount of demonstration and how-tos to really delve into some of the tools, as well as, again, how to get access to different books in different formats. We're going to go over our Help Center and Learning Center. We do have a lot of robust resources in there, so I like to share that. And please feel free to ask questions at any time. Put them in the chat, and I will answer them. I always like to say that I am never able to answer every single question. However, I, you know, certainly will get back to you if there's something that, you know, we don't know at this time. As things, of course, are always changing, which is quite apropos in these times. And I built in a few kind of, you know, breaks for questions, but certainly feel free to drop them in there anytime. So in terms of the problem, right, what are we talking about? Obviously, access to print and reading, right? It's fundamental to really, I mean, everything that we do, honestly, in our development, just as people. And it is clear that obviously many people need to access reading materials in formats that are other than standard print. And so, you know, obviously we really want to focus on how can we bring a solution to that, because clearly, you know, there is obviously the need. And what does reading do? Obviously many, many, many things. But the thing that I have really been thinking about in recent times in COVID is increase of quality of life. Right? When things are so restricted in terms of physically connecting with people, being able to go out and do different things, being able to escape into a book is just something that, again, has always been important. I am a lifelong reader myself, but certainly having access, I think, really is impacting our quality of life right now. So it is so, so important, and really something you know, to take quite seriously, again, during this time. So one solution obviously is Bookshare. So it is an e-book library. That is the basis of it. And it is for people with a qualifying disability. And really the disability categories are three different ones. One is a learning disability. One such example would be dyslexia. Someone with a visual impairment, either someone who might be completely blind, accessing technology with some type of screen reader, or someone with a diagnosed visual impairment as well. And then lastly, someone with a physical disability for whom accessing a standard book is difficult for them to manipulate. So in order to access Bookshare, you have to have a disability in one of those categories, one of those three categories. And so what does Bookshare offer? So the first thing is we just passed a milestone. We have 900,000 titles in our library. We are working directly with the publishers. I think to date, it's over 900 publishers. I don't have that exact number because obviously it does change, but we are really trying to get the books directly from the publishers, really partner with them in order to create and increase all of the books that we have to offer in the library. And all of the books are available in multiple formats. So some of those will include the audio format, large print, EPUB, DAISY, with and without images, as well as in Braille. And so when you go to access the books, and we're going to do this during our demonstration, you can choose what format you would like to access the book by. And what are some examples? And same thing, we're going to browse the collection in a little bit, but we've got textbooks in there, also books for assigned pleasure reading, and we've also really emphasized books for upskilling, lots of how-to books. Again, in the COVID time, when people are home, potentially have maybe some more time, although now that some things are opening, maybe a little bit less. But if you want to learn something, you want to learn Java, C++, you want to upskill in terms of interview questions, what type of maybe a change in a career, things like that. We have quite a selection of books for upskilling as well. So Bookshare is again available to anyone in the disability categories that we mentioned previously. A couple of distinctions. So for someone in K-12 or a college student, it doesn't matter if the college student is part-time or full-time, if they're in a US K-12 school or if they're in a college or university, the membership to Bookshare is free because we have a very large grant from the Office of Special Education Programs. We're going to talk about how to get an organizational membership versus an individual membership and dual memberships again in a little bit. But that is important. It is free for students. For adult members who, again, are not associated with a school or a college, there is a small fee. It is $50, and it's an annual fee. So it's good for 12 months. And then at the end of 12 months, really 11 months, you get an email that says, hey, your Bookshare membership is coming up. Would you like to renew it? Once you are a member of Bookshare, either, again, through an educational institution, or if you're an individual paying member, you don't have to purchase the books. The books are in the collection, you can access them, and there is no limit on the amount of books that you can download or have access to. One thing that I always like to mention here is that, again, you can read the books on nearly any device. And we really want to do that because we want to meet people where they are, right? So whether you have a smartphone or a tablet or a laptop, PC or a Mac, you can read it on nearly any device. The books are read with synthesized speech, meaning they're going to be read by whatever voice is on your device. So whether you're using VoiceOver, JAWS, NVDA, Zoom Text, any other type of device or software program, again, we're going to get into some of those, that's the voice you're going to hear. One other organization that I like to mention is another group also based in New Jersey, Learning Ally. Some people may or may not have heard of them, but the reason why I mention them is because they also do offer ebooks. They have all of their books dictated by a human. So if this is beneficial to your student, perhaps maybe synthesized speech is good for some types of books, maybe not others. Learning Ally is another organization, to look up and, consider for a student who might do better with a human read book. So their collection is smaller than ours, being that obviously, again, they have people who are recording the books, but really that type of access could be critical to a student who really benefits from having that human read voice. All the Bookshare books are read with synthesized speech. So how does this work? We talked a little bit about the qualifications, but basically we are covered under the copyright law. This used to be called the Chafee Amendment, and a couple years ago, at this point, a year and a half, couple years ago, now it's the Marrakesh Treaty. And so basically what it says is, again, through those 3 disability categories, an eligible person is, and the reason why they're eligible is because they are unable to access standard print. Now, the second bullet here, as determined by a competent authority. So a competent authority sounds very formal, I guess, but this could be a special education teacher, a child study team member, it could be a teacher of the visually impaired, it could be a disability services staff member at a college or university. It can be an individual in an organization supporting people who have disabilities. So for example, in New York, the Lighthouse Guild. It's essentially vouching, right? Saying that, yes, this individual does have a disability in one of these 3 categories. It does not have to be a medical professional. It could be. So it could be an ophthalmologist, a pediatrician, a general practitioner, but it doesn't have to be. And I really want to stress that, because sometimes people will start the process of becoming a member of Bookshare, and then they see that and they say, oh, well, I'm not sure. I don't know that I can get my doctor to sign off on it. You don't have to. If you're able to, they can be a competent authority, but so can, as I mentioned, the other individuals, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, someone who really can say, yes, this individual, has a disability in one of these 3 categories. The last thing is, if you do have a Learning Ally account, or you are a member of the NLS, the National Library Service in New Jersey, it is the Talking Book and Braille Center in Trenton, you can also automatically then have a Bookshare membership. So when you go to register, again, we'll talk about that, you can just put that information in there. So you don't have to go through the process, because you have gone through the process of getting a competent authority to vouch for you to register for one of those services as well. What does the new law do? So I know I mentioned the Chafee Amendment, and now it's the Marrakesh Treaty. And I certainly am not an attorney and never pretend to be. But the thing that really the new law does is it expanded the qualifications. That's really the main takeaway. And so the one example that I like to talk about with this is someone who might have a disability on the autism spectrum. Previously, that would not be a way to qualify for Bookshare in and of itself. However, now, under the new law, someone who may, let's say, have autism, and also as a result of having autism, they have difficulty accessing standard print, they would qualify for Bookshare. So that is one example where in the past, that type of disability would not automatically qualify someone, and now that person would be able to have access to Bookshare under the new law. So let's get into some demonstrations here. So the website is bookshare.org, and anyone on the, on the globe can access bookshare.org. The only thing you can't do until you register and become a member is download books. So if anybody wants to go to bookshare.org, you can peruse the library, do an advanced search, get into our help center, do all of the things except for download a book. So when you go to our main page, there is a link that says not a member, sign up today. So once you get onto that link, it's going to show you two different membership types. One is for an individual and one is through an organization. So when you go on here and you say, well, I'm not sure if my organization does or does not have a Bookshare membership, you can look it up. So you would start by going to organizational sign up. You would choose either, there are 3 radio buttons, either a US school, a US organization, such as a public library, or a non-US school. But for now, for our purposes, we're going to go with US school. So you would put in the country, United States. We're going to go into Connecticut only because I just talked to them the other day. We are going to go to a college, Hamden. Let's just say this is our city, Hamden, Connecticut, just for kicks. And it's going to bring up all of the schools that are in Hamden, Connecticut. But we are going to choose Quinnipiac University, again, just simply because I talked to them yesterday about their Bookshare memberships and setting it all up. So once you choose your school, should it be listed in there, you're going to go to next. And then it says, congratulations, or good news. The school already has a Bookshare account. So a new one does not need to be created. You can put your first name, last name, phone, and school email, and you can request access. So if you're not sure who the primary person is at your organization, once you click on this, they're going to get an email that says, hey, I'm interested in signing up for Bookshare. If in that list previously your organization didn't come up, then it would prompt you to go to primary contact information and fill that in and sign our sponsor agreement, which basically says you are an organization that is supporting individuals with disabilities, and you're going to be putting in or registering students or individuals who have a disability in one of those 3 categories. So that is the organizational membership. You can also sign up as an individual. So same thing, it's going to ask you, it's going to bring you through a series of 4 steps. Are you a student? Yes or no? Or rather, I'm sorry, does this person have a print disability? I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes or no? Yes, obviously, because if no, we wouldn't be going any further. Is this person a US student? Yes or no? And if you have signed up by your organization, you can also have an individual membership. From your organization, you're going to get an activation ID, and you can fill that information in. It's going to prompt you to put in all your information, create a username, email, all that kind of stuff. It's going to ask you to fill out 1 form for your proof of disability, and then sign off saying, yes, this information is all accurate. The reason why it's beneficial to have an organizational membership as well as an individual membership, if of course your organization is set up with Bookshare, is that with the organizational membership, only the people, the staff, the teachers who are registered with the organization can download the books for the student or for the individual. But when you have an individual account, you can download as many of your own books as you want. And you can have both, and they don't conflict with one another. And I say that being important because we want to promote independence for our students as well as our adults and people with disabilities. So if they have an individual membership, then it gives them the ability to download their own books of whatever their interest might be. The only thing that they could not do as an individual is download textbooks from the NIMAC. You do have to be, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Okay. All right, so I wanted to pause here for some questions. Certainly you can unmute yourself, ask questions. So I just want to take a minute just to see if there were any questions from what we have shared thus far. All right, very good. Okay, so let's get now into some demonstrations about how to search for books and things like that. So first of all, I'm going to log in because, again, I can't do much without logging in. So there's a couple different ways to search for books in Bookshare to see if we have it in our collection. And I'll talk about how to request it if we don't. So the first way is just this general edit box. It's on the very top of the page, and you could either put in the title of the book, the author, or the ISBN number. The ISBN number is very nice because it will give us the exact book. However, of course, you can search with the keywords as well. If you're not sure, you're not necessarily looking for something in particular, if you click on the word browse, this will bring you to our collection of everything that we have. So our collection is divided up into a few different categories. So we do have New York Times bestsellers divided into fiction, nonfiction, children's collections. We also have a specific category for kids, so younger students, Goosebumps and other things, accelerated learners, some books specifically for young readers as well. Teens or young adults, so different collections there. Category or collection specifically for teachers, so this is where the NIMAC collection is. Books specifically for adults. And again, anybody can download any of the books. This is just the way that they're categorized. By different awards, so Goodreads or the National Book Awards. Some general resources. This is where I was talking about kind of the how-tos or the upskilling from before. And then some disability-specific resources, as well as books in Spanish. So you can, like I said, browse specifically there. Then there's also our advanced search. So this is, first of all, a way to request to add a book that we do not have. So if you do want to request a book, we ask some specific questions. Is this book required for school? Yes or no? And this is the most important thing because we do our best to get the books as quickly as possible. As I talked about before, we do have relationships with publishers, and so we try to get the book directly from them. However, we do still, on occasion, chop and scan a book. These days with COVID, it's a once a week kind of trip into the office where someone is doing that socially distanced and safely from other people. So is it required for school? Yes or no? And then the title, ISBN number, author, publisher, copyright year. And then any additional comments, right? So just some examples. What grade level? Is it required for? Is it available in the NIMAC? Is there a substitute, right? Another copyright date or a different edition, that kind of thing. So this is how, it's just a simple form that you request it. And like I said, we do our best to get the books as quickly as possible. I do also want to just be realistic during this time, that it is probably a 4 to 6 week kind of process. Could also be longer if we are unable to access, get quick access to the book. So I like to be as upfront and transparent as possible, especially for college students, because if you need it for this semester, that could be an area of some difficulty. And so also this advanced search gives you different options as well. So if that general search in the edit box on the top or just the general browse doesn't work, advanced search will give you some different options for looking for the book as well. Okay. So let's go back to the NIMAC. I know we have a fair amount of educators and people who support students within or attending today, I should say. So first of all, the NIMAC, so National Instructional Materials Accessibility Center, but it's just easier to say NIMAC. So if you're unsure, there's some help here in terms of what is the NIMAC, who can use it, how to request a book, that kind of stuff. This is what we currently have in terms of categories for the NIMAC textbooks. And so when you click on a category, it's going to bring it up. You can change it from a table view into a list view. The list view kind of gives you a little bit more details of some of the books, and you could click on them to really make sure that, yes, this is in fact the book that I want. So now we get to downloading in various formats. So as you can see, so we've got Go Math Geometry, grade 6, grade 5, kindergarten. So I wanted to talk a little bit about here under action, right? So now, you know, we have this book, what are we going to do with it? So first of all, we have this Read Now button. This is our web reader. What this does is open up a book directly in the web browser. And just for the sake of time, I'm gonna click on this, but sometimes it takes a couple minutes. So also when I'm on Zoom, it never seems to quite go as quickly as I want it to. So when it does open, it will look like this. Let's just pop to, ta-da, here we are. So this is the Bookshare Web Reader. This is a different text, but like I said, I just wanted to make sure that we shared it. So there's a couple of things here. So there is a table of contents, so you can skip around to a specific part of the book. You can go turn by page by page. It will also read the book out.
And connect personality types ISFP and INFP.
There are some settings in here. You can change the font type, the background and contrast, the way the margins are displayed, the speech rate to make it slower or faster, and some different voices. And you could download a few different voices here as well. I just have the standard ones just for this purpose. You can quickly invert the color, should that be helpful, and then go on from there. So the web reader just opens it up in a web browser. The other piece that is important with this does not download the book. The reason why that's important is because this doesn't save a bookmark. This won't save your place. It is in the web browser. So when you close your web browser, it closes that book. Now, obviously, you could go back to it at any point in time. You could use the table of contents to skip back to it. But it is not the same thing as downloading it. The reason why I bring this up is because, well, obviously, it's important to make sure you understand what type of format. But the other thing is sometimes for students and as well as adults, if they just quick want to get to something, they can pop it up into the web reader and then go from there. Also, sometimes people are accessing the books and they may not be as tech savvy. And so it might be more beneficial for them just to use the web reader. Another way to read the book, once it's open in web reader, I wanted to also point out a software called, or a Chrome extension really, and here it is a software as well, but Snap and Read. So Snap and Read, now it has opened another kind of toolbar on this side on the right side, and there are some settings you can change with this as well. Again, it lives in Chrome, just a Chrome extension. You can activate it anytime you want. And it does a few different things. So it will also read the text out loud. But it has a few other little features that I wanted to point out. And this also, just incidentally, Snap and Read will work on other websites. It'll work with other books. It's a pretty cool tool, which is why, obviously, I wanted to mention it. So this screenshot reader for text that is not accessible. So let's say you were on a website and it was an image or it didn't have a way for the text to be read. This screenshot tool will let you basically take a quick picture of the text and then it will quickly OCR it and it will start to read. And again, you could change the voice because again, that voice is a little harsh. The other little tool, well, there's two other things on here. One is this it simplifies the vocabulary. So what it will do is it will see if there is a way to simplify what the person is reading. So it will just kind of flip it around. So it might change from the word, the person is going to ponder the content that they just read. It will change it to the person has to think carefully about what was read. The reason why I point that out is because sometimes when students are reading things on their own, if they do have a little bit of difficulty and we want to try to help them, obviously, and certainly there are many tools as well, but this is just a real quick built in. Obviously, it's not going to load because we're on here, but it does work quite well. And it will put in italics what was switched so you know. And then the last thing that it has is a cover overlay. So for students with a visual impairment to follow along. Here's our Go Math book. Okay, so so it'll open it up, like I said, right there. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the NIMAC. The other thing that I wanted to point out is our help center. So there are quite a few one other thing, actually, wait a second. Before, sorry, now I just got ahead of myself very briefly. I wanted to just go back to our list. Two other things. One is you can add the book to a reading list, so that way the student can access the reading list, so you can load it up on there for the student, if that is something you want them to read. And then lastly, this drop-down menu is where you can change the format. So we have the EPUB, e-publication, DAISY with images or DAISY with the text only an audio file. BRF is the Braille version or Braille format, and then Word. When you register for Bookshare, you pick your default, which is why all of mine say EPUB, but you can change it at any time. And then once you do choose your format, you click download, it'll start to say in progress, and then it'll say available. And then that's when you can open it into a few different, either another type of software. We're gonna get into all the ways that you can read Bookshare books. So the first thing is, in the Help Center, there is a Learning Center. And I wanted to show, there's a specific category, how to read Bookshare books. And we've created a reading tools wizard. So this is just a simple step-by-step of how you can read the books. So it asks you, what kind of device do you want to use to access the Bookshare books? So we're going to say we're on a computer, which at this moment I am. Then it's going to ask you what type of device, PC, a Mac, or a Chromebook. So I happen to be on a Windows PC. And then it's going to give you a couple of different options on how to read the book. Depending on your answer, it is going to give you different choices. So on a Mac, you could open it in iBooks. And we're talking about a MacBook or, obviously a computer or a Chromebook. And it tells you how to do that as well. It's the same thing if you were doing it on a tablet or a smartphone, right? What kind of device do you have? Either an iOS device, Android, or a Kindle. Let's just say Android. And so Dolphin Easy Reader, Voice Dream Reader, or Go Read. So that is within our Help Center, our Learning Center. I wanted to show you a very quick video, just because I've also been talking for a while, very brief about Dolphin Easy Reader. So this is for a smartphone or a tablet, Android or iOS. It is free and it is very easy to use. So again, maybe for someone who isn't as tech savvy, and you download the books right into it. Okay. So as they said in the video, right, that's another reason for the organizational and individual account, meaning that then students can access all their own books right on the smartphone that they already have. Also within the Help Center, in our Learning Center, we have a lot of how-to videos. So if a student is having some difficulty, or again, individual that you're working with, there's a lot of quick guides. A lot of them are in video format, a simple YouTube video. Some of them are up in PDFs or a Word document. So there is a how-to guide on how to use a lot of the either software or apps to access the books, as well as signing up. So I like to point that out just as a quick reference as well. And then there's different categories, certainly learning at home during COVID, getting different ways to access your membership. So we're trying to always put up as many different types of resources as possible. Okay, I saw there were a couple of questions in the chat, so just briefly I wanted to go over those. So the first question was, are private schools eligible? Yes, they are. So same thing, in the beginning we kind of went through that process of looking to see if your organization already has a Bookshare membership. But certainly I can also help with that, or you can, and we'll get into customer service and that kind of thing in a minute. So yes, that is an option as well. Okay, question number 2, is Beeline built into the web browser? So let's just go back to the read now. So there is Beeline, is it, yes, I think it was in the, see, now you stumped me. I always like these because then that forces me to learn. Yes, so when you've got the Beeline, meaning, so it's not like the regular or what that Beeline, its own extension. It is in here and you can change how it, or rather the color, you know, that it reads. So as it's reading along, so let's just go back to that, just go to here. So based on what you choose, it'll highlight it as it goes along. But it's not the whole like Beeline, its own web extension or Chrome extension. And then the last question in the chat, what options do students have if their school doesn't have a membership? So you can register for an individual account. The students, again, they do not have to pay for the membership. So they can have their own individual. You would register as an individual and then just work with customer service to set that up. You would provide, again, a proof of disability. Whereas if you were part of the organizational account, you know, the organization is basically vouching for you to say, yes, this person does have a disability. So you can register as an individual, and then you're off and running and, you know, doing your own thing. Okay, good. Let's see, we have about 5 minutes left. Any other questions? Okay, so just real fast, just a couple of last things, because I also like stopping on time, so that way you don't run over. Oh, I do see, oh, wait, one more question. Sorry. Can you increase the spacing? So back in, we're in our full screen view. You can access, you could change the margins, you can change the font and the text, but not the actual, you know, spacing in between the lines. I'm assuming that that's what you were meaning. So no, in the web reader, it is kind of a simple, more simple kinds of solutions. Obviously there's lots of other tools and you can do that certainly in some other tools as well, but no, not in the actual, not in our web reader itself. But I am going to make a note of that because that is a good thing. We're always, you know, getting feedback and trying to see how we could improve it. And I wonder if that's just a feature they can, engineering can work on. So thank you for that. Another question, does organizational cost depend on the number of students? So there is no cost for the organization. There is no limit to the number of books. So the only cost would be an adult who is not associated with a K-12 or a college. They are covered under an OSEP grant. So they would not, there's no cost associated with that. It's just if you're an individual member who's an adult. Okay. Smita, I see your question. What are the tools? I'm going to throw up a couple. So just real fast on our notes here. I know I mentioned that in the very beginning. I did put up some resources. Oh, thank you guys for filling that out. A few things that are up here. So I am going to put that in there just because I just want to make sure there's quite a few different ones. And again, depending on if you're using a Chromebook versus a PC, but I will definitely put those up there. Let's see. Oh, so in terms of getting help, right? Because even though, you know, we all need help from time to time. So we, like I said, we went through obviously our help center and the learning center and all of that kind of stuff. We do also have basically a listserv, kind of like NJ Cart was talking about this morning in the welcome. You can put in different questions onto there and they will, it will be answered. There's a lot of ways to search into what's already been answered. And then also we do have live help. So we have a very robust staff of customer service support that is available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but it is Pacific time. So just be aware of that. That means noon here on the East Coast. So if you are trying to reach them, just be aware of that. And that is the phone number. And then obviously we also, of course, have social media and that kind of thing. We also have a Bookshare book club that happens every month. We have it for young adults and we have it for adults as well. And then we also have a series of webinars and Ask Bookshare office hours. So those again are times that you can just log in and ask your question quickly, you know, have access to someone, you know, quickly to answer your question, you know, live. So just a couple other resources. And all right, we are up on time. It is 9:45. I thank you all. Here is my contact information and I did put it up on the notes. I am going to also post the resources in terms of line spacing up in that same area. If you have any notes that you want to add onto our Google Doc, that would be wonderful. And please do remember to fill out the survey as well as, so to obtain, of course, your certificate of attendance, as well as give us feedback on how the presentation went. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.